We're here for a Cancun question and answer with Tammy Nelson. Tammy will be joining us momentarily. She's just finishing a session. And this is the first one of our Cancun Q&As. We have, 6 different workshops going on in Cancun. And this is really an opportunity for you to learn about the workshop from, Tammy. And then also to ask any questions or to learn about the whole Cancun experience, what it's like, the resort, and anything else you'd like to know that will help you think about if you want to join us or not. So the second part of the session, after Tammy will be speaking about what her workshop is going to be like, what it's like to be in Cancun providing this workshop. And the second part of the session after that, we'll kind of open it up for all questions for Tammy or for me, since I had the opportunity last year to go to the same resort. Actually, last year, you remember COVID and all we went through. We had planned a month-long, 4 separate weeks of programs in Cancun last February, but as you would imagine, we had to cancel the first 3 weeks because of COVID, and it just didn't seem safe to go there. Omicron was really raising its ugly head in January, and it was a nervous time, but we felt, as along with the over 100 people who joined us last year, that the last week in February would be safe. So I did have one wonderful week experience there, which I'm happy to share with you if the resort and those kinds of things are of interest to you. I believe Tammy has joined us. Tammy, hello.
Hi.
Oh, there you are. Many faces on our screen. Hi, Tammy.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And we have a number of smiling faces and other people who are joining us today. And this session also will be emailed to the people who can't join us today, but want to have a chance to see you and hear about the program this week. So, Tammy, again, welcome. And I think we discussed very briefly what we're going to do today. And basically, I think a good place to start is to talk about your session and maybe say a little about who you are for people who might not know you, rather than me introduce you. And then what it's like to be presenting this session in Cancun. So why don't I just hand it over to you right now and let us know.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited to be here today and to talk about this, and thrilled that the world is opening up a little bit so that we have the possibility, like I heard you say, of actually meeting in this environment that's a little safer this year. And I'm thrilled that I know that there's almost 100 people signed up today just for this open house. So it sounds like there's a lot of interest, which makes me super happy. For those of you who don't know me, I actually recognize a couple names on here. So it sounds like a couple people have trained with me. But if you haven't trained with me before or read any of my books, I'm a sex and couples therapist. And I've been in practice for about 35 years. And my specialties are working with relationship issues that that individual therapists and couples therapists find challenging in their own practice. And I've been a board certified sexologist and an ASEC certified sex therapist and a supervisor for many years. And I'm an Imago relationship therapist, and I'm a licensed clinical counselor, and I'm a licensed certified alcohol and drug counselor. And I'm actually certified now through MAPS, MDMA assisted therapy, and ketamine assisted psychotherapy. And I really believe in working with couples in 2 ways. One, for couples or individual issues, for people that have been together for many years but have focused on their companionship or their roommate life and are interested in their long-term erotic life, erotic recovery, and have either been in neglecting that part because they thought they could just work on their roommate life, their sort of management of their life together, but they're missing that passion and aliveness and the in love part of their life. And the other reason that people usually come to see me is because there's been some kind of trauma in that aspect of their life. Either trauma that's resurfaced from the past, or affairs and infidelity, or illness, or even the pandemic, which has traumatized a lot of people, or at least brought up a lot of issues that might have been dormant. So I work in a way that is either online right now. I see a lot of people online, or I work in intensives and retreats. And this particular training I'm super excited about because it's in a beautiful place in Cancun, an amazing resort, I think Michael mentioned. And we're going to work together in the mornings from like 9 to 12:30. And we're going to focus on all those issues around couples and relationships. You don't have to be a couples therapist, but you might be interested in relationship issues. And then you have all afternoon free. So you can hang out on the resort, go to the beach, go to the pool, do whatever you want. And then we're going to have one bonus event in the evening. So you can come by yourself or with a partner or a friend, and I'll bring you through those exercises that we might see in a retreat or an intensive. And so it really is going to be sort of a sexy, fun time. And I would love it if you would bring your cases and any relationship dilemmas that you're going through in your job or in your personal life. You don't have to identify. You could say it's for a friend or a case. And we can use some of those actual issues and run them through the interventions so that you can go home and actually see your clients on the day you get back with some real life tools to use in your sessions, because this is really practical, hands-on work. And I'm hoping that you'll all, want to explore more when you get back. But if you just take the tools that we'll use, I'm hoping that they'll be really practical and applicable. We'll also do some work on the therapist as the self, because I think that working with these relationship issues is the hardest work that you can do. And I don't know about you, but I had like a lot of burnout during the quarantine times. And so I think that we also need some work on healing ourselves as therapists doing this work. So we'll do a little bit of that as well. And I can't think of a better place to do it than, the resort and spa. So we'll integrate a little bit of that, like how to work on our own countertransference and our biases, and how to feel like we're really rejuvenated when we leave there. So it won't be all cognitive work. I think we will do a lot of self-work, and so that you'll leave feeling full and healed and with a lot of skills for your treatment work. And I'm happy to take any questions that you have. If you've looked at the schedule and you have some specific questions that you want to know about, I'm happy to answer them here, or you can also email me directly. If there's something in particular you want to make sure we cover, or you're wondering if we're going to cover, also let me know, because we still have a little bit of flexibility in the syllabus that I can make sure that I include some specific interventions, which I'm happy to do. And there was one last thing I wanted to share. I'm also going to include a part about creating your new monogamy agreement. And for those of you who are working with people that are in open relationships, we're going to do a little bit of that as well. And so anyone that has ongoing conversations with their clients about healing and the future, we can talk about that. And if you have my books and you want to talk about how to use them, I'm happy to do that. You're going to leave with a downloadable workbook with some worksheets that you can use with your clients, which feel free to distribute. That's totally fine. So that you'll get some really hands-on usable short sort of ebooks that you can use, and those are free and included in the workshop.
Well, thank you, Tammy. I have a question, but first I'll just make a statement about asking questions. If anyone here would like to ask questions, you can either go to the chat line and write them. Emily, who you may see in the screen, is our hostess with the mostest, moderating all this. So she can read any questions you put in the chat line, or you can put in the chat line, I'd like to ask a question. Or for those of you with a camera, you can go like this, meaning I want to ask a question, or you can use hand raising function, which is also on your screen. So those are different ways you can ask questions today of either Tammy or me. Now, in terms, Tammy, I have a question for you, because I know you've developed a lot of tools and really ways that therapists can work with couples. Can you give an example of one tool that the feedback you get from the many therapists you've trained has been particularly effective? Maybe I don't want to give away the store for Cancun, but I'm very curious of what the answer to this question would be.
Yeah, well, I'll give you an example of something that people can take away as well. So one of the tools is I have a 6 weeks to erotic recovery plan, and we'll talk about how to integrate that for different dilemmas, if you will. So for people that are recovering from low desire or sexless relationships, or if you're recovering from infidelity, or other like dysfunctions, I have a 6-week plan to give to couples, and I'll explain in the workshop how to use it. And I'll also give you like a downloadable sort of an ebook with the actual steps that you can give your clients, and that's included in the workshop. And I have people that come back years later and say they're still doing that plan and that it's changed their relationship. So there are really, I think, practical tools that we can have open debates about, like, well, is this really effective, and what tools are research based and what are anecdotal? I can't pronounce that. What have I seen over the years that have really worked, and why do I think they work, and who do they work with? And that's one that I think has really been beneficial, and we can also tweak it to work with your particular clients. I think it works with all LGBTQI clients, and I can talk about why and who perhaps it's contraindicated for, which there are a couple people that might not work with, and I can explain why.
Okay, well, maybe I'll say a few things about how this whole Cancun thing started, and then I'll open up for questions, either Tammy, any specifics about her session, her workshop, or anything you'd like to know based on our experience last year. So, basically we had this idea before COVID that wouldn't it be great to, in February, especially living in Canada, not everyone watching lives here, but we often get away in the winters, and wouldn't it be great to combine a great learning experience with great teachers in a beautiful place? So a few years ago, we started planning this, and spoke to a travel agent and said, where's kind of a great place that will, for one thing, have a good meeting room, which we can have our sessions, but also is an excellent resort. So our travel agent came up with a suggestion of the Dreams Jade south of Cancun, just a little bit south of Cancun. So then I looked in the reviews, and the reviews, like over 1,000 reviews, most of them were really very, very positive, and people loved the place. And there was someone even put a Zoom video last year who had just come back and said, this is what my room looked like, this is the place, and everything looked great. So we were happy to go with this place. But I'll tell you, I was there. I've been to different all-inclusives in the past, and this place certainly was the best one I'd ever been at. They're very, very sensitive to needs of people going on vacation. The rooms are gorgeous. There are towels all over the beaches. You could be sitting in a beach chair around the pool or around the beach. There's a big beach and people are passing by. Can I get you something to eat, something to drink? They'll bring it all to you. If you want room service, that's included. There's no extra charge. There's 6 or 7 restaurants, French, Mexican, teppanyaki, Asian. And the food was really, really good. It was so good that I was surprised. I didn't get one complaint from anybody about the food because it was all really, really good at an all-inclusive, which isn't always the case. It's also south of Cancun, not in Cancun proper, which I think makes for a much better location. Cancun itself is a really pretty crazy place, but this is south of a town called Puerto Morelos, which is a really nice little resort, not a resort, a nice little small beach town. And some people went into town and just really enjoyed that as well. But it's a little bit off the beaten path, although it's a beach you can walk long distances. Now, also, many people brought their partners, some people brought children, and the partners are very happy at 8 a.m. to say, bye, see you later. And they went off and used the resort. We also had yoga in the morning, every morning as well. We asked one of the staff to do one exclusively for people participating with us. So that was very nice. And also people said, wow, what a great instructor that person was. And just to add to the fun, we organized some excursions just for us. So we had our own bus. It didn't drive all around resorts picking people up. It was just for us. And one day we went to a cenote, which is one of these open air caves, very popular all over the Yucatan in that area. And it had one of these ropes. What are they called, Emily? The ropes that come in the water? The zip line that go in the water. People were jumping in, and people just for 2 hours was in the water, looking at each other, laughing, having fun, and saying, God, I'm so happy I'm here. I'm so happy I'm not looking at a screen in my room anymore. And of course, all the excursions and everything are open to whoever comes. And if you come alone, I'll tell you, it's really easy to make friends and hang out with people. This is just the nature of people being together. I'm sure if you've been to conferences, you meet someone sitting next to you, you go for lunch, you make friends, and making friends, being in a beautiful place, I think it was all so restorative for everybody. And I would expect that that's going to happen again this year. The rooms are single, double, or triple if you're looking to come down with another person. And the other bonus, if you're watching this either now or later, we have your email address, and we're going to send you a copy of this video, as well as a discount coupon for 15% off the workshop itself as a thank you for you're here today. And of course, we'd love to see you in Cancun. So that's a few things that I wanted to say as well. And now we can open it up for any questions that you have, or if Tammy, if you have any questions or anything you want to add. And as I've said, you can put it in the chat line, you can raise your hand, however, and we have another 10 minutes, and that will be that for today.
I see Heather McPherson.
Heather, hi Heather, a
And
long time leading edge person. Nice to see you, Heather. We've been in rooms together over many years. You have to unmute.
And can everyone put their name and or put where they're from in the chat? I would love to see where everyone's joining us from. If you could put the city where you're from, that would be great.
Now, I know Heather's from Toronto because we've had many years of workshops in Toronto. Hi, Heather.
Yeah.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Tammy. When you were talking, all of a sudden, one couple that I saw years ago, they came to mind. And so I have a question. And that is, I remember I gave an exercise for the couple to do at home. And when they came back, what they said was, or he or she said, well, you're only saying that because the therapist told you to. You don't really mean it. And, it is awkward when you, are told to do something with another person because someone instructed you. It is awkward. I don't know if you have any comments or skills or tools that might help with that kind of a situation.
Yes, I have a lot of things to say about that, although we might work in dialogue structure, I don't ever give people the language to say to their partner. I would give people the sentence stem, like the beginning of a structure, but they would have to use their own language to explore their own feelings about whatever we're talking about. So some people respond really well to structure, and other people like to sort of create their own dialogues. But I find that for most couples, the problem is that they've been stuck in their own structure for so long, that one person is the minimizer, and they've been trying to create space around themselves for so long because they've been trying to avoid conflict their whole relationship, that they've been, distancing from the other person, and the other person maximizes and pursues them because they feel abandoned. Where are you going? You're ignoring me. You don't care about me. And that other person hears conflict, distances. And so eventually they come out of the cave and go, okay, what? And the other person's like, I don't even want to talk to you anymore. So now we have this pursuer distancer relationship. And they've been doing that since the beginning of their relationship. And so it's not even so much what they're saying, but how they're reacting to each other. And if we can get them out of that, then we can talk about whatever they need to talk about. So a lot of the work is getting them out of that cycle. And when we talk about sex or affairs or something that's really triggering for people, they're really reactive, they go really deep into their cave or deep into their reactive place. So it makes sense that you have a client that's like, oh, you're just saying that because. That sounds to me like a reactive place. And I'd want to know so much more about that and what they were actually saying to each other. And so that might be something we could practice in the workshop or go a little bit deeper into and try to break some of those old cycles. And I think that one goal in the workshop is to be free of our old ways of working that are not working for us any longer. The frustration that we have, which I really appreciate you talking about. What are some of the things that we've done in the past that are not working? Mm-hmm. And how do we shift out of that and break free of that? I'm so impressed that your clients actually did their homework because most people are so non-compliant. They don't try anything at home. So they must have at least really respected you and tried something at home, which is quite impressive.
Thank you, Tammy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Heather, you had a question in the chat. Can you comment on the level? So for example, novice to expert of this workshop. This person's a certified sex therapist and they see a couple colleagues there as well.
Yeah, I love that you're a sex therapist. And I think that we can accommodate people at all levels in this workshop, which is unusual because usually I would say, this is just for beginners or this is just for experts. One of the goals that we had when we first started talking about this workshop is that we wanted to make sure that individual therapists and couples therapists could come because we're really going to talk about relationship dilemmas from both aspects. And then I really was invested in opening it up to really talk about sex and to really work on sexual dilemmas. So it's not just a primer, it's really an assumption that all of you are already working in the field and you're already doing therapy. So if you're already a sex therapist, like I see Holly, I see you there. If you're already a sex therapist, I would bring your toughest relationship dilemmas so that we can all use some examples and we'll see what we get to. What's also included in this is I'm going to be available for follow-up. So if we don't get to answer all of your questions, we're not going to get to all of your cases and all of your practice. But what is included is you can follow up with me and after the workshop and say, we really didn't answer every single one of my questions, but can we meet to talk about this, or can we go deeper into this particular dilemma? So I would feel like you could ask anything and talk about anything and know that all levels are welcome. All questions probably won't be answered, but they are all welcome in the space.
Thank you.
You can go to the swim up bar and meet people there.
Right. For consultation, 3:00 at swim up bar on Tuesday.
Emily, are there other questions?
I'm not seeing any others in the chat.
But that is a good question, though. I mean, a lot of times for these kind of workshops, people tend to like follow the instructor onto the beach. And I might need some space on the beach, but I love the idea of like maybe having a meeting at the pool or a meeting at the bar for people that that want some more specific topic agenda questions. And so I'm definitely open to that. I think that's an excellent idea. Or even having, some dinners that we could arrange.
I'll tell you, Tammy, what happened last year that was very nice. One of our we had Bessel Vandercook in the room, and Roy Kiesling, who's developed this really a very interesting approach to EMDR training and has a pretty big following. And most EMDR training is very intense. It goes like from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. It's really work. And that's what he was used to teaching. But he told people, and this is not something you have to do, but this is an example. He said to people in his group, who would like to go out for dinner with me? So we reserved at these many restaurants, which you normally can't make reservations for. The hotel said we could, tabled for 8 people. And he said, my eyes were really open because I didn't realize what was missing from my other trainings. Just a chance to unwind, to be together and relax and get to know each other and carry on the conversation. So that was an eye opener for him. And it really, really made the week for a lot of people.
I love that idea. And I also love the idea of people connecting with each other so that, if there are a sex therapy interests, then you have like a special interest group that meets at the pool. And if there are people that are working on affairs, that you join the affair group at the beach. And if you are working and you're new, the new therapist maybe can meet, for dinner on Wednesday night, like to really form those special interest groups so that you connect with each other. And those relationships last for a lifetime. I mean, I find that in these training groups, when you form those new groups, and I'm happy to help facilitate that, to make that happen, that those relationships can last forever.
How many participants are you expecting?
Well, we think we're guessing somewhere between 40 and 50, but we don't know. It's still early. So we don't know for sure. I mean, whatever it's going to be, it's not going to be some huge group. It's going to be a relatively small group. And we've only reserved so many bedrooms at the resort because we've reserved them already. And the resort is very, very popular. So they're holding about 50 rooms. And hopefully, if more people want to come, we'll be able to get them. But there's not a guarantee we can get them because Cancun is hopping. So many people who haven't been away for the last few years are making their plans.
So if you want to join, you should probably reserve it as soon as possible.
Yeah, this will guarantee, people join soon will guarantee their place as well as getting a discount. And then we'll see.
Okay.
And then from another person, will you be limiting the number of participants?
Well, I think we wouldn't put it much more than 50 or 60 at the most. That would make sense. Last year for Bessel, we had about 75 and in a very, very large meeting room, and that seemed to work too, but in that range, I'm sure. Well, we almost out of time, so I'll speak slowly, and if you have one more question or comment or anything else.
Oh,
Ada, hi Ada.
Let's get you unmuted. Sorry, can you press unmute? And thank you for sharing that, Tammy.
I just put my email in the chat, so if anyone wants to email me directly, you're more than welcome.
We're just waiting for Ada to unmute.
Okay, okay, I did it.
Hi.
Okay, hi. So being that COVID is still around, it's still a thing, even though it's not as big a thing as it was, but they do anticipate it's going to become as we get into the fall and the winter. I'm just wondering how large the rooms are going to be. We're, like the morning workshops, I assume, will be indoors. So how large will those rooms be? Will they have high ceilings? Will they have good ventilation?
Well, good question. You know, if you think of big hotel ballrooms, the rooms we have hold about 250 people.
Okay.
They don't have a lot of ventilation, but they have some. You know, last year we spaced out chairs because we have lots of room. So there's lots of room. And the resort itself is pretty sensitive to these issues. So last year they said things like, you know, everyone had to be tested before you go back to Canada or the United States. So they had a medical facility there to test everybody. And they said, if anyone tests positive, they have 2 more weeks at the hotel at no charge. No, I didn't hear of no one took advantage of that. And they have a whole sani cleaning, you know, they really work hard to make the resort as safe as possible. This year, we don't know what we're going into. If things get worse, they'll take whatever actions are necessary. Right now in Cancun, you know, some people wearing masks, most people aren't. And of course, one nice thing about this is you can have all your meals outside. You can, you know, when they had people break into dyads, they went outside of the room and just sat there. And I think, Tammy, if you have, you know, exercises, that can be outside the room. But it's also nice to have all your meals outside and not having to be in an enclosed room.
Right. But the room, but we will be in enclosed rooms for the
That's
morning.
an enclosed room in the morning, but it's a room, again, that holds around 250 people.
Right.
So there's lots of room for spacing.
Uh-huh.
Of course, it's air conditioned.
And please
Right.
feel free to wear masks, you know, if that
Yeah.
makes you comfortable. I'm totally supportive of all that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Emily, any other questions?
Nope.
Well, Tammy, thank you for joining us. It's so nice to say I will see you on a warm day in February. That keeps me warmer for the next few months. And thank you all for joining this conversation. As I've mentioned, we'll send an email with a link to this video. If you missed part of it, there'll be a discount coupon and all that stuff. And I wish everyone well wherever you are today and in the coming months. Thanks for joining us.